Ladies and gentlemen, today, I want to talk to you about a critical issue that affects every single one of us: climate change. The evidence is irrefutable, and the consequences are dire. We are facing a global crisis, and we must act now. Firstly, the rising global temperatures are leading to more frequent and severe natural disasters, such as hurricanes and wildfires. These events not only threaten human lives but also devastate ecosystems and economies. Secondly, the long-term impacts of climate change are equally concerning. From food scarcity to water shortages, our ability to sustain our way of life is at risk. We must reduce greenhouse gas emissions, transition to renewable energy sources, and make sustainable choices in our daily lives to mitigate these threats. In conclusion, the urgency of addressing climate change cannot be overstated. It is not a problem for future generations to solve. It is our responsibility here and now. We must take meaningful action, both individually and collectively, to protect our planet and secure a sustainable future for all.
You can whine about an earache or a headache, but you can't complain about pain in the brain. The human brain has no pain receptors. It can't tell itself that it hurts. If the brain feels no pain, what is brain freeze? Brain freeze, also called an ice cream headache, occurs when you eat or drink something cold too quickly. When ice cream touches the roof of your mouth, the blood vessels in your mouth contract. This sends a message to the brain about a change in your body heat. The brain overreacts and tries to conserve heat by contracting the blood vessels in your head. When the threat is over, the blood vessels in the head relax and dilate. This sends a quick rush of blood to the head. You feel this rush of blood as pain in your temples, face, or neck, but not in your brain. Try pressing your tongue against the roof of your mouth to relieve the sensation of brain freeze.
The earliest writers on politics, and I'm thinking of Plato and Aristotle here, felt free to draw insights from all areas of human knowledge, unlike modern academic writers who tend to put things into smaller and smaller compartments or focus more closely on one area of inquiry. For example, Plato would examine a whole political system and the philosophy that underlies it, whereas modern writers on politics might concentrate on one particular institution in that system, the House of Lords in England, or on voting patterns within a country. With this focus, the bigger questions that the ancients dealt with, what is the best form of government, or what is justice, tend to get left behind. Many writers on politics these days are university-based, and so have to have specialised interests. And while they may make new and interesting discoveries in their special field, it is at the loss of a broader perspective, not to mention the loss of a general audience or readership. In the 19th century, there were still writers who used the same freedom of inquiry as the ancients, and are all the more readable and relevant because of it.
Readjusting to life in your own country after living abroad for some time is a little like recovering from jet lag after a long flight across several time zones. It takes time. And research indicates that after 9 years of living in a foreign country, you never really do readjust. Of course, things have changed. Governments have come and gone. What you knew as countryside has become a suburb. New technologies have changed the way people go about their daily lives, and so on. These changes may well have been taking place in your adopted country, but they were happening while you were there, so you could adapt as you went along. Those are not the main difficulties, however. It is in the smaller, everyday things that you might experience what is known as culture shock, although it's not really a shock, but puzzling all the same. For example, the precise way to behave at a supermarket checkout may have changed, and in ordinary conversation, the frames of reference have changed, and quite often you find that you don't really know what people are talking about, even though they are speaking your native tongue.
Touchdown confirmed. We are safe on Mars. The control room at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory late in the evening of August 5, Pacific Time, when word arrived that the Curiosity rover had landed safely on Mars. The 1-ton rover, which dwarfs all Mars landers that came before it, will now spend a planned 2 years exploring the Martian surface. The mission is expected to cost $2.5 billion. Curiosity's task is to investigate the inside of Gale Crater, where a giant mound of sedimentary deposits may provide evidence of a wetter, possibly habitable Mars billions of years ago. But first, it had to survive an elaborate landing sequence which appears to have gone smoothly. Curiosity landed on time and on target and soon beamed back grainy photos of its wheels and its shadow. Given the car-like size of the rover and the challenges of landing on Mars, Curiosity's landing goes down as one of the greatest parking jobs in history.
All around the world, significant parts of our cultural heritage are threatened by pollution, neglect, carelessness and greed. In learning the importance of our history, we come to understand the need to protect significant remains from the past so that future generations can come to understand their heritage.
Dr. Tony Wagner believes there are 7 skills that young people need to have in order for them to find and keep a good job in today's economy. But he thinks our schools are focusing too much on tests and academic performance and aren't doing enough to teach those skills. Let me give you an example. One of Wagner's 7 skills is the ability to work in an international team. This is because little teamwork is carried out in one building anymore. When most global companies have a problem, they create teams of people from all over the world to solve it. And these people meet online, in virtual meeting rooms. To succeed in this kind of environment, you need to be a good communicator and understand different cultures. Teams also need good leaders who lead by influencing others, but Wagner and the business people he interviewed say that young people today are unprepared for teamwork and leadership. Because of this, Wagner thinks that people involved in teaching and learning must rethink the way that they educate people in schools so that these young people have the skills they need to achieve a successful career in the 21st century.
Long-term exposure to noise can lead to loss of hearing. The relative loudness of sounds is measured in decibels. Just to give you an idea of what this means, the sound of a whisper is 30 decibels, while a normal conversation is 60 decibels. The noise a vacuum cleaner makes is around 85 decibels. The danger zone, the risk of injury, begins at around 90. Continual exposure to sounds above 90 decibels can damage your hearing. Loud noises, especially when they come at you every day, all this noise can damage the delicate hair cells in your inner ear. Lots of everyday noises are bad for us in the long run. For example, a car horn sounds at around 100 decibels. A rock band at close range is 125 decibels. A jet engine at close range is one of the worst culprits at an ear-busting 140 decibels. The first thing to go is your high-frequency hearing, where you detect the consonant sounds in words. That's why a person with hearing loss can hear voices, but has trouble understanding what's being said.
In order to know how behavior patterns can be changed, the clinical psychologist has to know what causes the client to behave the way he or she does. Identifying the cause is called diagnosis. In diagnosis, a psychologist uses 2 basic tools, interviews and psychological tests. Through interviews and tests, the psychologist tries to classify the problem to see if it falls into any known categories. A psychologist may also attempt to describe the client's personality in terms of how he or she deals with life. For example, some people like to lead, and some prefer to follow the lead of others. Some people are active and outgoing, while others are quiet and reflective. In a diagnostic interview, the psychologist takes the client's case history. This means learning how the client got along with parents, teachers, and friends, as well as how the person handled difficult situations in the past. Psychological testing is the other way that a psychologist tries to diagnose the client's problems. Clinical psychologists have developed tests that can help them learn about a person's intelligence and personality, as well as tests that show whether a person's behavior or perception is influenced by emotions, disabilities, or other factors. Personality testing is useful in discovering how the client tries to adjust to life. Personality tests can reveal unconscious feelings the person is unable to talk about. This information can be important and could help shorten the length of treatment required.
Through 2. Listen to part of a talk in a business management class.
Management requires a great deal of energy and effort, more than most people care to make. One factor that affects managers and inhibits their capacity to provide leadership is stress. Stress has lots of causes: work overload, criticism from workers, and can have negative health effects, including loss of sleep. It's a fact. Managers have to deal with stress. Some handle it by making time to be by themselves. Most have some favorite place or pastime, a beach to walk on, maybe a stream to fish in, or a game to play with the kids. It's important to have some form of rest and relaxation. Creating art, working with your hands, gardening, playing sports, the list goes on. Rest doesn't always mean inactivity. For some people, exercise is rest.
The other day I saw an advert on the internet asking for volunteers to test a new skin cream. It was an anti-aging product. How is it possible for a cream or lotion to stop us looking old? I don't think any skincare goods can make us look younger. I certainly don't believe cosmetics companies that say their expensive creams can remove wrinkles. They just want to make lots of money. Why do people believe them? How do they know their creams work? They did not test their products on thousands of people over 50 years. I think if a person uses an anti-aging cream for 50 years, they would not even look a year younger when they are 60. This means it's a huge waste of money. Only healthy living can keep us Why do we have crime? When will it all stop? It's sad that there is so much crime in our society. It hurts so many people. Most people in the world just want to live happily and be good neighbors. Why do some people turn to crime? Money is a big reason. Many criminals pickpocket, steal, kidnap, or even kill people to get money. There are many terrible crimes in the world. Perhaps the worst is ethnic cleansing. This is a crime against humanity. Many people are killed because of their color or religion. People who commit this crime rarely go to prison. Have you ever been a victim of crime? What do you think we need to do to reduce crime rates? Perhaps you should write.
If you're like me, somewhere in your closet, or maybe in a drawer, you probably have a pair of pants you hope to someday fit into. Again. But staying on a diet and finding time to exercise, it's no walk in the park. But wait, before you swear off the spaghetti, scientists at the State University of New York in Stony Brook have stumbled onto a new way to slenderize. They found that mice that spend 15 minutes a day standing on a vibrating platform are leaner than mice who just stand still. Their results appear in the current online edition of the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. All the animals in the experiment were allowed to eat their fill. After 15 weeks, the shaken mice didn't actually weigh any less, but compared to the mice who hung out on a stationary platform, they had about 30% less fat around their middles. The SUNY scientists think that the jiggling kept fat cells from forming. Whether it would do the same for people, you never know. And here you thought New Yorkers were lean and mean because they're always in a hurry, rushing here and there. Maybe it's because they spend so much time standing on vibrating subway platforms, waiting for the Uptown Express. This is Scientific American's 60-Second Science. I'm Karen Hopkin. This'll just take a minute. Some things are hard to remember. Others are hard to forget, especially things that are traumatic. But kids, it turns out, are better than adults at forgetting the bad stuff. And now scientists think they know why. According to an animal study in the September 4th issue of the journal Science, the brains of adults erect physical barriers that keep painful memories intact. As adults, events that emotionally disturb us tend to get seared into our brains, and those memories can resurface, causing anxiety, fear, and even post-traumatic stress disorder. But young brains are much more resilient, and can even erase unpleasant memories. To get a better handle on this youthful forgetting, scientists studied the brains of young and old rats. They found that in adult brains, a physical net forms around certain cells in the amygdala, a structure associated with emotional memories. Adults that had been trained to associate a mild foot shock with a specific sound would flinch when they just heard the sound. But using a drug to dissolve this barrier restored the older rat's ability to extinguish fearful memories. So rats that got the net-busting treatment stayed calm when they heard the sound. It's one of the few instances where a net loss is a real gain. Thanks for the minute. For Scientific American's 60-Second Science, I'm Karen Hopkin.
Computers used to be larger than they are now. Houses were built for workers near the factories.